a motion to, oh, now we're recording, okay. Just because the recording started a little late, we did start the meeting at 6:05, and we are entertaining a motion to accept the minutes as presented. So that would have to be,
I motion to accept the minutes.
okay, motion by Dave. Do we have a second?
I'll second it. Wayne,
And Wayne for the second. All in favor?
Aye.
And none opposed? Good, well, that's going quick. Public comment, any public comment? Looking at the screen, it does not appear to be the case. So that being said, I'll go ahead and close the comment section. Well, we might get along here pretty quick tonight. Okay, Mylan I've not been able to get a hold of him. He's not joined us tonight either. He was going to give us a quick rundown on the drainage report or the drainage challenges we've been facing. I can go ahead and probably give a quick overview of what he was going to talk about. He did meet, and I kind of went along with him just to see what was going on with two of the folks from Utah State came down. So I don't have their names with me. And he kind of drove them around and kind of showed them some of the challenges we're looking at. He did focus on the near term and low cost, low tech solutions that we're looking at on stuff mostly above 5% grade. We did explain that, we recommended to the council that we do a bigger study, a citywide drainage study, and that, a lot of what we're looking here may or may not be incorporated into that. But, we just kind of showed them where the gravel, comes out off the spring or off of Broad Hollow will wash out onto the ground, and, how ways to look at controlling that. Made it clear that, this has all been done before, and, but we kind of just wanted to take a different look at it with a different, from a different perspective with different goals. And so they probably spent about an hour and a half, 2 hours driving around with Mylan, going through things. Looked at, like I said, mostly looked at the grades, kind of showed some of the low spots where we've had some trouble. They took some pictures, asked a few questions, and that was pretty much, I could sum it up like that. Like I said, I'm thinking Mylan would have been a little bit more prepared. Any thoughts or questions about that?
not about that. I know that Ted Mickelson has been putting some information together towards seeing if we could get a grant or other means of financing for the for a study.
All right.
And Corbett, maybe you've got a little bit more information on that you could share with us.
Yeah, Ted and I talked about it, but that funding, that funding would be 2 years out. I mean, anything is better than nothing. 2 years is better than never. You know, I get it, but Ted's going to submit the information or the documentation for the funding, and then we'll see where it goes. But it's going to be a couple of years out, and that's probably, you know, with the budget that we're looking at right now, that's probably more realistic anyways. And so we're going to head that way. One of the things that Ted had mentioned is that because of the way the funding works, they'll submit the funding, but they can't, twist my arm kind of a thing. They'll submit the funding, but they can't get paid to submit the funding for the funding, because if they get paid to submit for the funding, that excludes them from being able to bid on the work. And so he says they do it all the time. They've got guys in their office that just do this. They've got, you know, templates, boilerplate forms that they can fill out so that you know, they can still participate in the bid process to get.
And I believe in their, I don't know for sure how it works with Ted's organization, but a lot of engineering firms they'll do that as part of their budget, that, they'll call it business development or something along them. They might be not the exact label, but that's the idea, is they're just kind of planting the seed for any potential future projects. So I know a lot of folks do that. And let me just add one thing real quick. These two young men from Saturday, a week, was it last Saturday? A week ago Saturday. So they were able to talk to Ted about what was going on a little bit as well. So sorry to interrupt you there, Corey, if you want to finish up.
No, you're fine.
Okay.
I was done.
Yeah, so I don't know, where the council is on this. I know that Dave Pratt had mentioned that they talked about it in committee meetings or work sessions, but I never heard anything. So it'll just go where it goes at this point, what I'm seeing. So
One of
I
the things
guess
that I'd
if
like
there's
to
not-
see us pursue, sorry, Mark.
yeah, no, go ahead.
One of the things that I'd like to see us pursue is kind of get a head start on it. For what little I know about it, if we come down the road and you divide and conquer kind of a concept, and you can put in a sump. Right now, we could probably put in a few sumps in the trouble areas that may not satisfy the design, the overall design, but it would take care of, maybe 80%, or maybe it's only 60%, but we put them in the trouble areas. And then, but it needs to be thought through enough, and I don't know enough about it, but thought through enough that we're not shooting ourselves in the foot, but we're just starting to piecemeal at it so that down the road, all we have to do is add to what we do right now.
Yeah, and we did talk with the kids about that a little bit, about, maybe putting in a storm drain sump of some sort. And I think, Corbett, you and I talked a little bit about that. And you put it in, maybe put it up, 15, 20 feet above the top or the bottom of the hill, so that all the water, mud, gravel, and everything would fall into that sump. And it would fill up, but it would also percolate at the same time, but it would keep a lot of the rock and gravel from maybe making it to the street, and it would be just water at the street that time instead of all the debris. And then of course we'd maybe have to, take a back truck and clean it out every, 6 months, year, whatever the timeline looks like. It'd be something we'd have to fill out. But I think that would be probably our simplest solution. Just we could keep it in the right of ways. The only challenge would be is utilities. What utilities are in there would we have to work around? But I think that would probably be our simplest solution to some of our trouble areas.
Well, for the most part, you can't install a sump in the flow line, because you have to filter the water. You have to treat the water. And even if the treatment is just an inlet box that's got a snout so that the oils float, it's got enough capacity underneath the snout so that the sediment settles out of it before the water just flows into the sump. And so I think you can install sumps just about anywhere you want, and then use that treatment box or the catch basin with a snout in it, and then pipe it from the box to the sump. And so put the sump out of the way, and then put the box in the flow line of the gutter. And then the boxes, one of the things that we did in the Robert Nelson subdivision is, instead of just doing a normal inlet box that's only got, maybe 6 inches to a foot of capacity below the snout, I had them increase those so that there's 4 feet of capacity underneath the snout. So you can get that box 4 feet full of mud before it seals at the bottom of the snout, to keep it from taking on any more water, which just means that you can go longer between cleanings. And when you do clean it, you do more work in one spot before you pack everything up and move to the next box. So I think there's ways that we could get ahead of it and get some of the trouble areas taken care of right away without having to wait for that full study to be done, as long as we think through it enough that we're not going to be in the way when that study is implemented.
We could look at some of those too as kind of a testing areas. to give us an idea of what we're looking at, how long it takes to percolate and to go through, and how big do we need to make those, and do some assessments that way in looking to the future of when, some actually gets designed to do it. We maybe have a little bit of information to use to help us know what we're facing a little bit more and what we need to do to mitigate it.
I think one of the biggest issues we're gonna run into is where do you put the sump? Are we gonna cut down trees and clear up, at an intersection? Or are we gonna put the sumps in the middle of the road? And you can do either one, but because you pipe from the inlet box to the sump, wherever the sump is located. And if we can get that sump out of the, I mean, it's gonna be easier to take care of if it's out of the road. Only because if the sump is in the road, now you got a manhole, you got a concrete collar you got to deal with. And if you
you've
don't
just
have to
added
do that,
cost to the project too.
right. If we don't
Okay.
have to deal with any of that and we can put it off the side of the road, but then the drawback to that is you're cutting down somebody's trees.
I kind of sort of I'm kind of imagining what you're talking about there a little bit, Corbett, and I'm kind of seeing it, but I'm thinking my idea of what you've got in mind versus your idea of what you got in mind may be a little bit different. So I wouldn't mind just getting with you in the next couple of weeks or so, maybe have you kind of give me a sketch of what you're doing, what you have in mind, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe do that, and then I think maybe do that, and then we can just send it off to the rest of the committee members for their information. See, here's what we're thinking about doing, and maybe get some input from them. So maybe we can do that over the next couple of weeks or the next 30 days.
Okay. No,
You know what?
that's great.
What we ought to do too, Corbett, is maybe approach Summit Creek and get them to kind of partner with us a little bit and do some testing of that over on areas where they're going to be developing to. That would help them as well. And maybe they'd be willing to put that in on their own dime. And then we could use it to see, is that particular design, how's that working? What if we took that and put it somewhere else in the city, same kind of thing. But we might consider that as Summit Creek moves forward with their stuff.
Okay. I think you're going to find that Summit Creek is going to go with basins more so than sumps, only because in Woodland Hills, you can't do anything with a gully. And if they put in a berm and they pipe everything to the gully, they don't have to deal with it. I think a little bit of rock line ditch you're going to do anyways. You do a turnout, or you take that rock line ditch down between the building lots so that you don't have open channel like we've talked about before, Wayne.
Yeah.
I think you got enough gullies that if you can get that water into the gully in the development process without it impacting buildable areas, I think that's going to be a lot cheaper to install and a lot cheaper to maintain. And so I think we're going to find that Summit Creek is going to most likely install more basins than they will sumps. But I mean, let's look at it. It's not going to hurt to look at it and see.
Yeah. Okay.
I just want to say, take a second and say, welcome, Ben. Glad you could join us.
Thank you so much. Sorry I was late.
Yeah, not a problem. It had, life gets in the way of sometimes. We were just talking a little about some of the stormwater discussion that Milan was going to have with some of our challenges. Milan did not make the meeting tonight, so we're kind of winging it on our own. Of course, Corbett's got some pretty good ideas and some pretty good plans. We're going to go ahead and I'm going to talk to him a little bit further on what he's got in mind, and we'll just get that information out to the rest of the committee for review and input over the next month or so. So
Wonderful.
if
Thank
there's,
you.
okay, if there's, especially no other questions or comments at this point, I would go ahead and move on to item number 5. But before I do that, I just want to make sure everybody's had everything they want to say. Okay, item number 5, a presentation and possible discussion on vacating roads. Wayne has been working on that with Summit Creek on a regular basis, I'm guessing over the last couple of months. And Wayne has also agreed to give us a presentation. I know we're going to present, when I say we, you're going to present this to the council here, I think, at the next meeting. But if you want to go ahead and take a few minutes and kind of explain what you've been going with or discussing with Summit Creek, we'd certainly love to listen.
Sure, glad to. Summit Creek has proposed to the city to vacate portions of a couple of roads that they're looking to further develop it as their subdivision phases go forward. They see those roads as critical to where they are as they continue to use them and add to them for their road system. They're developing a system of private roads where they're interested in putting in gates to give them a degree of privacy in their project, and as well as what they feel is greater safety and so forth for people that are part of their HOA. These roads a number of years ago were dedicated to the city through the normal process as part of other subdivisions. And so there's a regular process that the city has to follow according to state code to vacate these roads, and they can be vacated for a number of reasons. Obviously, Summit Creek would like them vacated and turned over to them for their use then and further development of their project. So we've put a lot of figures together. Some of them are quite maybe subjective in nature, but just to get an idea of the values and what the city would be getting in exchange. There's a number of projects over in that area, Summit Creek, that Woodland Hills City has, for a number of reasons, not completed. In most instances, it's a failure of lack of sufficient bonding, and or the previous subdivider and developer didn't have funds sufficient to finish the project as Summer Creek came in and took them over. So Summer Creek has agreed to finish some of those infrastructure projects, primarily rock line ditches in a number of places on the finished roads, and case of Bear Hollow, to finish that road. Right now it's dirt, so and it's been that way for years, so there would be a lot of work. It's not just putting asphalt on it. There'd be a lot of work that they have to put into it before they get to the asphalt, but to complete that road, as well as a part of Summit Creek Drive, which is also Deer Meadow up on the east side of their project, needs rock line ditches. And I think Cougar Run, let's see. No, Cougar Run's got asphalt, doesn't it, Corbett?
Yeah, it just needs rock line ditches.
Rock line ditches. And then Loafer Drive. They want to reconfigure that and change course with it to better meet their design that they're putting together for that part of their subdivision. So they've agreed to do all that infrastructure work, which the city has an obligation to do, but at this point in time is short of cash to do it all. And in exchange, then they would like the city to give up portions of Eagle Nest and Loafer Drive, then and turn those back over to Summit Creek for them to turn into private roads and use in their subdivision design. So we're having a public hearing on it. The city council is. They're the ones that will make the final decision. There'll be a presentation made by Summit Creek to them. The planning commission had a public hearing. There was no participation by the public on it. And the planning commission has recommended to the city council that the city approve that exchange. That it would be a benefit to the city to do that. So that's kind of where things are at right now. There's a lot of information and documents that have been prepared to inform the council of the issues as well as the public. Some of those are out on the city website right now for the public to look at and to be able to comment on when the time comes for the public hearing. So that's kind of where things are at right now.
Okay, so I got a couple of questions, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Corbett, you mentioned that Cougar Run has asphalt or pavement down. Are the
Yeah.
utilities on Cougar Run?
Yeah.
So utilities and everything are there, okay? And I
Wait a
think,
minute.
is it Bear
I don't think the gas has been installed, but the power,
Okay.
water and sewer and
Every-
storm
so-
and part of the storm drain, not the rock line ditches. But at the end of the cul-de-sac, there's an inlet box and a sump.
So, okay, and it would probably be better to complete the rock line after the driveways and everything are put in anyway, would it not?
It depends. I mean, the problem with doing it up front is then it gets damaged and you have to keep a handle on the contractor. If you do it afterwards, then everybody and their dog has a different idea of what it's supposed to look like. And it's just as much, if not more hassle.
Okay. And then on not Cougar, Bear Hollow, they wanted to look at doing some realignment on that, if I remember right. Do you know anything about that, Wayne?
Not anymore, are they?
No, they're taking it straight through.
Okay,
They're
so
with Eagle Nest, they're taking it through the cul-de-sac and it will be a major road into the other part of their project. So they will extend Eagle Nest.
Okay.
That's their
Yeah.
plan.
But Bear Hollow will remain as it is right now. Okay.
Yes.
Okay,
A slight,
then,
a slight modification.
but no major realignment. And
No.
that was on Eagle Nest. I know that I kind of walk my dog down that way a lot. And I see where, they've got a lot of lots for sale and I've actually sold a couple. Are they looking at taking it over like right about where Cougar or Bear Hollow intersects? Do you know exactly where that alignment is? And, will that be private?
Yes, it will be private. Yeah, it'll continue through the cul-de-sac and go kind of further to the west and further to the north and meander around. But it will come and end into a separate cul-de-sac, if I remember right. As it meanders around down there and part of that project.
So, at the risk of sounding like a council member here asking questions. So the folks that are on Eagle Nest, let's say using Ted Nicholson, and there's that new property across the street from Ted Nicholson, are they going to have access or are they going to have to drive around like they're doing now?
Now, it's planned for them not to have access, that the gates will be below those homes.
Okay,
Exactly where, that's gonna have to be determined. But they will not be included within the gated part of.
Okay.
The gate will be further down on Eagle Nest beyond the Bear Hollow intersection. So once Bear Hollow is done, Ted and all those guys will be able to go down to Bear Hollow, across to Summit Creek Drive and get out.
okay, that makes
gate-
sense.
The gate will be beyond the Bear Hollow intersection, further south or further north on Eagle Nest. Or
So
west.
they will have a secondary exit from where they're at.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
And then also I'm just kind of looking at the public hearing notice. It says a portion of Loafer Drive, 56 be dedicated? Is there any particulars on that? I mean, I know we've been discussing, our half versus their half of West Loafer. I don't know if that's what we're talking about on this.
It's not.
uh,
It's
description.
between
It is
Eagle,
not?
it's
Okay.
between Summit Creek and where it comes down to Bear Hollow. That's the area we're talking about. But we have raised with them the possibility of putting in this development agreement, the other part of Loafer Drive that we've been talking about over there by Glenn Anderson's home. We just started those discussions today, in fact, to try to get, we're interested in putting that into the development agreement so that we both understand that that's something that we want to have done and complete in an appropriate time period. But that's not part of the turning over the road. That's not part of the road we're going to turn, that is proposed to be turned over to them.
Okay, perfect. All right, those were the questions I had. Thank you, I appreciate it. Anybody else have any questions or comments? I'll take that as no more questions. Okay, that being said, let's go ahead. We can close that part of the discussion. Move on to item number 6. That's other items. I have a couple of things that I wanted to talk about on that item, on 2 other items, excuse me. I'm sure that most of us know that we are no longer in the COVID protocol, which changes the way we're going to have meetings. So technically, this meeting should have been held in person at the City Hall, but Jody was kind enough to say, just go ahead and do one last meeting so that get everybody's, everybody knows what's going on. So any meetings we're going to have in the future, we're going to need to go ahead and have at least a quorum at City Hall meeting. So this will probably be our last full Zoom meeting. I know it's convenient for everybody to just, walk upstairs or down the hall or wherever they go to get to their computers. But it looks like moving forward, we're going to have to go ahead and plan on having them at City Hall. That being said, the other thing, this can kind of roll into number 7. I think we want to talk about our next meeting and when to have it. We really don't have a lot of things to be discussing now. We're talking about the storm drain. I think we can do a lot of that by email and communicate that way. So we've been scheduling them once a month, and I'm thinking as we're going into the summertime that that's probably a little more than we're going to need once a month now. I know that in the past, and it was Wayne's suggestion, it was a good one at the time, let's go ahead and continue to schedule the meetings once a month and then cancel them as we don't need them. I'm wondering if we want to just maybe look at maybe just going to once a quarter until we find some need, and then go from there. Anyway, I just wanted to open that up for discussion.
If I could, I'd like to discuss building that berm up by the water tanks.
As an agenda item?
Well, just as maybe some thought, maybe for a future agenda item, but
Okay.
I know, Mark, I talked to you a little bit about trying to twist your arm into volunteering to come up and play in the dirt.
Yeah, you drug me up there for a little bit, kind of convinced me, he's trying to do the Tom Sawyer thing. I pay him a quarter, he'll let me run the backhoe or something like that.
I'd really like to help make that happen, but Mayor Winder is pretty adamant that it's not going to cost the city. And so I'm not sure yet how to make that work. I think Jody's got the finance side of it figured out as far as how we're going to pay for fuel, inspections from the compactor, the soils engineer to do the compaction tests, the surveyor to come up and stake it and that kind of stuff. But is that something that this committee could help facilitate or organize, build, whatever, or is that more than what you want to take on?
Uh, Just saying, writing a note there.
I think we can be a kind of an idea group. I mean, we don't have a lot of stuff going on right now. So, I think we can somewhere or another support you, Corbett. And, I think there's enough of, cross interest and experience, which many have had, to say, well, what about this? Or have we thought about that? And work on the project too, as time's available. A couple of us are retired and things too. So I think I don't see that as being something that we shouldn't, get involved with a little bit and support kind of under your direction.
Yeah, I'm not sure that we as a committee are going to be in any kind of a position to take the lead on that. It's probably going to have to be driven by the council for sure, especially when you start asking for volunteers and stuff like that. But, as Wayne was just saying, I'm certainly willing to help any way I can. I don't know if I'm prepared to start knocking on doors and handing out flyers saying, please come help build a berm or anything to that extent, but I'm certainly willing to put in some time, some thoughts, some ideas and stuff like that. But as far as getting the community active into it, I'm not sure that would be our purview. I'm open for thoughts on that.
I think that part of it, Carrie Malkovich has pretty much volunteered to try to get some advertising out, put it in the city newsletter.
No one better than her at that, that's for sure.
There's I think is it Aries Grog that is kind of helping with volunteers, volunteer projects in the city. And so I think that side of it, I'm looking for a little bit of help just to oversee it, make sure that if anybody's got any questions, maybe it's just finding somebody that's got a little bit of experience that way that could help, some, I don't want to call them ignorant, but somebody that just doesn't know what they're doing, but is willing to help and give them some direction. I mean, Nate Pack with CMT, he'll come up and do the inspections, and he's volunteered his company through him to come up and do the inspections every morning that we're working on that thing, every afternoon when he comes home, just to try to help facilitate this to get it done. I want to see this, or I'm hopeful that this will turn into more. I want to build a 1 million gallon tank. That's on my bucket list before I die. And I think this could help facilitate doing even more to get done some of the things that need to be done and save us some money in the process.
So, two things I can take from that. Number one is Corbett's going to be with us till he dies, because he wants to get this done before he dies, right? So that's what I read into that.
It's in next year's budget.
Just joking. But I think what might be good for us is maybe we set up a time where whether it be individual or together, where maybe you could go through the committee and kind of let the committee get a better understanding of exactly what you're looking at doing. Maybe, a site survey or a site meeting where we can go up and say, okay, this is what I want to do and this is where I need some help. Because I'm not sure we all understand exactly what it is you want to do.
Okay.
So I think that would be a good starting point, is to educate this committee and say, okay, let's do that. And you maybe just send out some emails saying, hey, this is what I'd like to do, and propose some times for everybody to get together. Probably you may have to do it 1 or 2 different trips just to make sure you get everybody, would be my guess. Or we can plan it for like maybe next month's meeting or something.
Corbett's kind of reviewed a little bit of this with me. I've seen some of the designs and things like that, which others haven't seen. Why don't we plan on the next meeting, and it'd be at the city center, and Corbett can, put this stuff up on the screen there, and we can sit around there and take a look at it, and he can better explain to us the visual of what he wants to do and accomplish, to give us a better idea of the kind of project that it's going to be and what we may be looking at then, and kind of the resources that we might need to accomplish it. But
and I would also maybe add to that, maybe a site survey where you just go up, take a tour of the facility.
yeah,
Yeah.
it'll be lighter still by then. So
be the 1st of May. Oh, maybe it'll be the 1st of May for me. I will have to get back with you on my schedule because I just realized I may be out of town 1st of May. But we could certainly plan around that. We could be flexible on that.
Yeah, sure.
So Tuesday, you know what? I gotta be Thursday. Yeah, I'm probably gonna be okay. I could probably do it. If we do it on Tuesday night, I could probably leave Wednesday morning. So that may work for us.
Or we could move it to the second week too. I mean, whatever,
Uh,
whatever
Well,
works best.
I tried talking about that, and there's a whole bunch of, the council meetings, and then different committees have their meetings and stuff like that. So it's kind of been a little bit of a challenge to do anything other than the first Tuesday of the month from
Yeah,
administrative point
that's
of view.
true.
So,
Okay,
but yeah, that's not a bad idea. We can schedule that for, maybe for May, kind of do that, and then we can go from there. So that's a good one. And then we'll just play it by ear for the following meetings after that. So sounds like a plan for next meeting, if that works for Corbett.
Okay, no, that's fine.
Okay.
Another item, anybody, any of you guys, or do you know anybody that could help build some plywood forms for catch basin boxes? I struggle wanting to buy the boxes that we're gonna need to do a storm drain, a citywide storm drain system. I look at the problem intersections, and I think we could easily be putting in, 30 or 40 sumps throughout the city. Now, obviously, that's not gonna all happen at once, but enough concrete leaves Woodland Hills that if we had some forms that were built and we could take that concrete, we could pour those boxes and not buy those boxes. Those boxes, a 2 by 3 by 3 foot tall box is $1,000. And there's not $50 worth of concrete in it. It's more the time and the energy to do it. But if we had some boxes built, it's like all those big concrete blocks. I'll bet I've poured 60 or 65 of those concrete blocks, all with free concrete. You
Is that
just have
kind
to
of,
be ready to take it whenever it's ready, whenever it comes.
would that be kind of getting back to what we were discussing in item 4 on the stormwater drainage?
Yeah, but just in preparation, start building boxes now as we get concrete. I've talked to the concrete guys, the salesman for Geneva that runs the Payson plant. And if they know that we need concrete and we're ready for it and we're not going to hold up their truck, they'll give us the concrete rather than hauling it back to their shop. And so if we have a way to use it,
Probably save more money on their brakes than they will on the concrete, or lose on the concrete. Yeah, it makes sense.
do they do
Right.
driveways too, Corbett?
That's gonna be,
all they want to do is dump it out. All they want
that's
to do
gonna
is
be a
dump it out
separate
and wash
discussion.
out. And then they go back to the shop or they go back to the plant empty rather than driving downhill loaded.
Sure, yeah.
But I'm not kidding.
Robert, I can help you
I
build
see-
those.
I see 5 yards at a time go back down the hill and go back to the plant because the contractor doesn't want it on site. He doesn't have a washout big enough to take that much concrete. And so they send it back to the plant, and the plant gets back, the driver gets back to the plant, he dumps it out on the ground, and then they stir it up and recycle it.
Yeah, it's
Well,
pretty
it
hot
costs
load by
money.
then.
Yeah,
Yeah, Corbett, if you can, I'll pop in tomorrow and let's talk about blueprints and what that design would entail. And we can talk, and I'd be happy to help you build those.
And actually, if you guys could set a time, I'd be more than happy to join you tomorrow.
That'd be great,
Yeah,
especially
if it
since I've
doesn't
been
take-
dodging your appointments, Mark.
Say that again?
Especially since I've been dodging your appointments. I'd love to meet with you.
Oh, sure thing, yeah. I know, yeah, my schedule's wide open for a little bit. So yeah, if we want to do that, Corbett, if you could just text me a time or email me a time tomorrow,
How
I'm good
about
to
8
go.
o'clock?
What time?
How about 8 o'clock in the morning?
8 o'clock.
you've got a 9 o'clock meeting, Corbett, I'll
I
remind
know,
you.
that's why I said 8 o'clock.
That's why it says
So we'll
8,
be
we'll
done.
only go an hour. Okay.
Right,
It kicks me out.
So just your office at 8 o'clock in the morning? Does
yeah, let's do that.
that work for you, Ben?
Ben?
Yep, that'll work great.
Oh, there you go. Okay. Well, we'll see you guys in the morning.
Yes, you hear me?
Okay, that's good. So I guess if that being said, let's go ahead and set our next meeting date for, I don't know what date that is. Let me check my calendar real quick. I'm thinking it's gonna be like May 2nd.
Yeah, the 30th is Sunday, or no, Saturday. So it'd be the,
Tuesday,
be
May
the
3rd.
3rd.
May 3rd, I'm sorry, okay. So I'm gonna say, let's go ahead and set our next meeting, May 3rd. Plan on taking a tour at 6 o'clock. And again, the location will be the city hall from now on. I'll make sure we get that out to everybody. So if at this point, if there's nothing else, I'd like to thank Wayne for his time and efforts on that, on those road projects, and appreciate his giving us a heads up. So we got a little bit more information now than the council does, I'm thinking. And I appreciate that. So unless, again, no other items, I'm gonna go ahead and entertain a motion for adjournment.
I'll make a
I'll move
motion.
I'll second that.
Okay, so we got Ben made the motion and Paul seconded it. Okay, in that case, meeting adjourned. Thanks, folks. This is a new record for time.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you,
Thanks,
everybody.
everyone.
You bet. Take care.
See ya.